Don Lemon, your time is up, homie. I think you might be going to jail. I hope you go to jail.
Let me just say this, I'm not a fan of Don Lemon or the way that he does his reporting, but I will tell you, as an American who believes in the First Amendment very strongly, that the attack on Don Lemon from the federal government, in particular the Department of Justice, now threatening to criminally charge him for simply doing his job as a reporter is absolutely un-American. That is fascism, that is dictatorship.
It's so interesting to see that they decided to storm a white church. Caucasian Christians in the middle of their service, because they knew hands down as Caucasian Christians, they were the least of any kind of threat. They're not going to fight back. In fact, the worst thing that they're going to do is pray for you. I would have loved to see you try that with a mosque, a Somalian church, but you wouldn't do that. A Hells Angels organization group meeting. Yeah, that'd be a great one to see.
Hi guys, it's Bubella React and you're welcome back to the channel. I want to add something important to this conversation, and it's about what a lot of people are suddenly pretending to have forgotten. Now, we've seen situations where MAGA people entered black churches to provoke, intimidate, or cause trouble.
Lies. Stop calling him a fat. That's why Charlie Kirk died. You're demonizing him. That's a disgrace. That is a disgrace. You're responsible. The radical left, people like you are responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. Stop calling him a fascist. You can disagree. You can disagree without demonizing somebody.
We remember those times. We remember how lightly those actions were treated. And we remember how accountability was almost non-existent. But now suddenly, because this situation involves a black journalist and an ICE-related protest, the outrage is louder, the punishment talk is heavier, and the narrative is being rewritten. But anyways, let's get into the rest of the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section about this.
The MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this a assistant attorney general, I don't know, gosh, what's her name? It's something Hammett, Dillon or whatever. So I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it. It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist, there you go. So
Except you weren't just doing journalism. You interviewed the organizer of this event beforehand, knowing full well what they were going to do. And instead of calling the authorities, you went with them and you participated. You live streamed yourself stating that disruption was good, making people uncomfortable was good and necessary in times like these. Those were your exact words. And then you continued live streaming yourself as you went around harassing and gaslighting several members of this congregation, telling them that this disruption was good, trying to justify why they should be harassed and terrorized inside their own church. You did that. You participated. So you can try to backtrack all you want, but Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General whose name you fake forgot in your video, I think she's already building her case.
Let me just say this, I'm not a fan of Don Lemon or the way that he does his reporting, but I will tell you, as an American who believes in the First Amendment very strongly, that the attack on Don Lemon from the federal government, in particular the Department of Justice, now threatening to criminally charge him for simply doing his job as a reporter is absolutely un-American. That is fascism, that is dictatorship, that is completely out of pocket and cannot stand. Being a reporter, being in the public eye myself, it is incumbent upon everybody to make sure that we have the ability to report on anything that is happening. Now, what happened with Don Lemon and why is the DOJ after him? He went to Minnesota to report on what was going on in the protest there against ICE, as well as to report on what was going on with Jake Lang. And then it came out that there was apparently a director of the local ICE department there who was also a pastor at a church. The protesters found out about this, so they went to the Sunday service and they began protesting. Some of them even entered into the church itself to continue to voice their displeasure with the fact that the deacon or pastor of this particular church in a very wealthy, rich neighborhood would also be the director of ICE, contradicting the premise of Christianity of taking care of thy neighbor. Don Lemon went inside to simply ask the clergy of the church about the situation, about the person in question, and what their feelings on were. That was it. Nothing else. Don Lemon did not force his way into there. The doors were wide open. He simply walked in and started asking some questions. And now the Civil Rights Department of the DOJ wants to charge him with felonies, and this has got to stop. This is beyond absolutely ridiculous. Guys, how does this make you feel? Drop a comment down below. Share this with everybody who needs to see it, because we cannot let stories like this die out, and follow along for more. Also, check out our Substack where we'll do a full breakdown on this story and more. The link is in the bio.
I just want to make sure that I got this right, so help me out if I've left out anything. Not long ago, an American citizen by the name of Renee Good was unalived in her car because, based on the dystopia land that some American citizens live in, she attempted to run over someone. Those that don't live in that dystopia land, that actually have clear sight, could clearly see that that was not the case. That was met with, she's a domestic terrorist. There needs to be no investigation. Outrage, 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 outrage. Now, a protest takes place inside of a church. No one was harmed. Nothing was broken. No doors were locked. No one was held hostage. Everyone was able to leave there alive, still breathing, going about their day. But that was met with, Don Lemon needs to be arrested. There needs to be charges. Everyone that was involved. There needs to be an investigation. Outrage, 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 outrage. The selective outrage in this country is very confusing to me, because need I remind some of you all of the amount of black churches that have been attacked and burned to the ground within just the last 80 years, not hundreds, 80 years, due to the KKK and racist people. And those people have never seen the inside of a jail cell. So again, you're going to have a hard time making me give a shit about what some of you all are complaining about. Oh, why does it always have to go back to black and red? Because again, the selective outrage in this country is mind-boggling to me. You want me to care when it affects you and your people, but when it affects mine, get over it. Got it. Okay, cool.
Good morning. How is everyone today? I see Don Lemon is freaking out over what Nicki Minaj said, which wasn't a very Christian thing to say, but it's true. I mean, where's the lie? But yeah, I'm having a great time with this, because during the Biden years, there was a lot of political rivalry, and Joe Biden went after his political opponents like nobody's ever seen. So the Trump administration actually going forward with charges for this intrusion in this Christian church is them following the law. I mean, they broke the law, so the guys are going to go in and clean it up. That's what governments are supposed to do. That's why your protests are very stupid. I'm out.
How low can you go that you start protesting and storming a church? They went inside a church with Don Lennon. You can hear him commenting. This is watch, and we can talk after that.
And, what time you can protest. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, is to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I believe when I say everyone has to be willing to sacrifice something. You have to make people uncomfortable in these times. If you see how uncomfortably and how harsh people are being treated on the streets, you have to be willing to go into places and disrupt and make people uncomfortable.
To defend people that are breaking the laws is unforgivable. And we do have a gut up there. We do. What else they need to do before something is done about it?
And you wonder why they continue to do exactly what they do. Because direct and immediate consequences are never what they face. It's been 4 days. 4 days since Don Lemon and his little anti-ice lemonade brigade. I'm sorry. That's the little name I've given them. And I hope it sticks. But ever since Don Lemon and his little anti-ice lemonade brigade stormed a church on Sunday in protest of anti-ice, interrupting not only their service, their prayers, but also their constitutionally protected peace. And yet still nothing. Crickets. Ooh, I still hate saying that word because, crickets. No, if you know, then you know. But that's exactly what we're seeing. 0 consequences, 0 arrests, 0 warrants. As for the American people, at this point, I think I can speak for the majority of us. 0 faith left in, the system, the law enforcement, the judicial system, the DAs, and the government as a whole. As collectively, it looks as though Don Lemon and his little brigade of lemonaders broke multiple laws that should in fact result in multiple felonies. One attorney stated that she saw 14 felonies committed. I'm no attorney, but I do play one on TV. I'm kidding, I don't, but no. But they blatantly disregarded and broke the FACE Act, a constitutional law that allows people like Christians to gather, to worship, and to do it unbothered by literal asshats like Don Lemon and his brigade. So where are the consequences? Where are the repercussions? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, here we are. And nothing. And to the current administration, I'm really confused. I'm really disheartened. And as a Christian, I'm disgusted on every level there could be. Where is our justice? Where are their consequences? This is why we can't have nice things. And of course, Don Lemon and his little whatever. It is catchy though. Lemonade Brigade, anti-ice. Apparently they like their lemonade warm. It's so interesting to see that they decided to storm a white church. Caucasian Christians in the middle of their service because they knew hands down as Caucasian Christians, they were the least of any kind of threat. They're not going to fight back. In fact, the worst thing that they're going to do is pray for you. I would have loved to see you try that with a mosque, a Somalian church, but you wouldn't do that. A Hells Angels organization group meeting. Yeah, that'd be a great one to see. A Methodist church full of beautiful African American Christians. No, you would never do that. When you and all of your little minions who stormed a church this Sunday knew hands down by targeting a predominantly white Christian congregation full of children, elderly, there was legit 0 threat of anybody retaliating, hurting you, or fighting back. Ooh, what a hero, Don Lemon. Ooh, what a baddie. You must have been quaking in your boots and scared out of your wits when you and your little anti-ice army stormed through that beautiful Christian congregation's door. As for the current administration, we're waiting. And we're getting impatient. Because if this was a shoe on the other foot, they'd already be in custody by now, and we all know. And just in case you need a reminder, we are the American people that you were elected and went into office to protect. And those people, those beautiful Christians, they're the exact same people that the FACE Act protects. Law extremely clear, line by line. A case that, as far as from where I'm sitting, it's rock solid against those people today. And all of those beautiful Christians on Sunday are the exact same Christians that FACE Act, that American constitutional law, was written for. The very same law that from where I'm standing and every other person, not just Christian, but America, is standing and watching. Even without us having law degrees, we can see and say that that law, word by word, line by line, is so rock solid, so crystal clear to the rest of us who don't even have law degrees, that it is enough to throw the book at them, all of them, with multiple felony charges. So from where I'm standing and the same Americans and Christians that I talked about just a second ago are standing, I think I speak safely for the rest of us, saying, so what happens next? Where are the consequences? To the current administration, from where we're seeing things, well, the ball, it's in your court. And it's been in your court for 4 days. That's the only thing that's been in your court when it comes to this. Because nothing's been done. Because imagine if they don't make an example of these people and do nothing. Imagine what other doors, what other golden opportunities, what other actions without any consequences these people could drum up next. Unreal. And you wonder why we can't have nice things. It's time to make an example out of this. And it's the perfect time. Because the FACE Act, or the letter of that law, couldn't be clearer and couldn't be a better foundation to throw felony charges at each and every one that did what they did. We're waiting. Tick tock, tick tock.
One thing that's been bothering me deeply about this whole situation is the selective memory people are choosing to have. We've seen people walk into black churches before with bad intentions. We've seen intimidation, we've seen disruption, and in some cases, we've seen violence. Yet, those moments were quickly reframed, excused, or quietly moved past. Now, compare that to this situation. This time, a protest happens in a church because people believed a pastor is connected to an agency causing real harm. And a black journalist who says he did not organize the protest, did not lead it, and was just there reporting, and suddenly they are framing him as the mastermind behind the whole protest. Don Lemon didn't storm a church to terrorize people. He didn't just show up armed. He didn't incite violence. He didn't go to people's houses and were dragging people out of their houses like the ICE agent does. He reported on something already happening, which is literally his job. But instead of addressing the allegation that sparked the protest in the first place, the focus has shifted into criminalizing the messenger. And it's so sad because when accountability becomes uncomfortable, distraction becomes the strategy. It's easier to say, oh, he disrespected the church, than to ask why people feel unsafe, unheard, and pushed to extremes. Again, let me be clear, I do not support disrupting church services. I don't support chaos in sacred spaces, but I also refuse to pretend this is happening in a vacuum. This outrage feels less about protecting faith and more about controlling the narrative. Because when similar or worse actions happened in black churches in the past, there wasn't this level of urgency to assign blame or threaten prison time. Now it's different. Now it's a black man. Now it's immigration. Now it's exposing power. And suddenly the system knows how to respond to this. Now people are trying to paint this story as if Don Lemon woke up one day and orchestrated chaos. Reporting is not leading, witnessing is not organizing, and documenting injustice is not a crime. If people truly cared about the church, they would also care about honesty, integrity, and accountability within it. Because faith is not weakened by truth, it is weakened by hypocrisy. And until we start being honest about that, we are going to keep having those conversations. Anyway, guys, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video with me. Please do well to like the video, share to people that needs to see it, and also subscribe to support the channel if you haven't. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.